it's not a fun frou-frou like black box safe space. It is a gladiator arena.
You are a classically trained actress who got rep right around 21, right, coming straight out of college.
Yeah.
And started working. And by the time you were 28, you were a lead on an NBC pilot. Mm-hmm. And were really working. And at one point you were recurring on 2 different shows, a half hour and an hour at the same time for the same network. So you really did have success in this business. And it helped me to understand why we're so similar, because I used to be an actress as well.
Okay.
And I worked for a period of time as well. And it's one of the reasons why I feel like I relate to actors so differently than so many agents. And so all of the things that, because when I started seeing your Tip Tuesdays and all the things you're giving out over at your studio, I just started sharing everything. And it was like, oh, I say this too. I say this too. And I just I freaking love you. I don't know you, but I love you.
Thank you so much. That's so kind. Thank you. Thank you. I love that you're doing this and that you're such an advocate for direct information to get to actors in a way that is realistic and empowering, but also I think with it just a real good dose of reality, because we all want the same thing, which is to enlighten, empower, and help artists.
Right. So I have so many questions for you.
Okay, hit me.
So I wanted to start with something for the veteran actors, because I know a lot of people here are new, and we're totally going to get to those questions. But what do you say to the actors who have been in the business for a long time and they've had success, right? They maybe 5 years ago worked a ton and now things have slowed down for them.
Yeah.
What do you say to them when they come to you?
It's a great question. And a big part of what I do, I think, is tackle the psychology of where you are at what point of your career. Mm-hmm. And when I started coaching, really, I focused 100% on the audition. And would see someone like an Adam Rodriguez, who's been on a CSI for umpteen years. And then he goes back into the audition room. And it's like a screech and a wah, because it's just a totally different beast and art form.
Right.
So the short answer is it does depend on each individual client. Obviously, everyone's different. But my goal is to get any actor out of the mentality that this industry is something that they have to need or want, that booking is the end all be all, and to learn how to take that pressure cooker off and really encourage their process of understanding who they are in whatever transformation or transition they need to make. Because I do think it's important to reinvent ourselves. I think that, every few years, it's really important to look at how you're growing as an artist, not necessarily what the industry wants you to do, but how are you unique as an individual? And going in with some of my veterans, there's such a host of issues, whether it's someone like Jesse Williams, who's doing a speech at the BET Awards, and has to deal with a whole bunch of socially motivated stuff, or whether it's someone who has gone back into the audition room and failed, even though they've been a series regular. But ultimately, my goal is to infuse them with a passion and a renewed energy, and also to fall in love with auditioning. Because when you treat it like art,
so hard. So hard to fall in love with auditioning.
Not as hard as you would think.
Okay, give us the nuggets, Sarah.
Well, I've spent the past decade basing and creating a new way of training actors that really starts with the audition. I've created 200 to 300 classes that are based off of auditions that I've coached, that are some of the hardest auditions that I've had to tackle. And when it comes to auditioning, I'm Rain Man. You know, I'm very locked in, and I can see things, and I direct. That's what I do. I direct auditions. I come up with choices that maybe actors are on the line about whether they should take that risk or not. I give them freedom that I think a lot of people out there are saying don't do. I'm saying do it. I'm a rule breaker.
Yeah, because I feel like what happens a lot of the time is actors are trying to figure out what they want, in the room, instead of bringing themselves.
But they don't know what they want.
They don't know. So it all ends up being this sort of bland, safe thing because they're just reading the page and nobody wants to just take a chance or follow their impulse.
If you do what's written on the page, you're not going to book. And if you play the middle, actors always are like, how do I take a risk? How do I take a risk? And sometimes risks aren't about bells and whistles. It's simply not playing it safe. It's making a stronger point of view and basing your choices, of course, off fact and research, fact and research, fact and research. One line in the script can give you a bullseye, but the minute you start looking at that breakdown, which is not a description of a person, it's just a regurgitation of maybe stage direction or what's in the script or a generalization, but they don't know what they want until that person walks in the room. So when actors come in and, you know, they're themselves and showing that they're pleasant and easy to work with, I'm like, you've already lost the job. They're not looking for someone to transform into a character. They're looking for the person who's the role. So simply bring the part of yourself that you feel works in that environment, in that profession, and within the mechanism of the show and the formula and what's already been created. You know, be aware of that tone, be aware of that musicality, be aware of the rhythm and the vibe and the pace and the feel and the look and the palette, the color palette of wardrobe. Make it easier for them to hire you. But at the end of the day, the most important part of the equation is who you are.
Yeah.
And not try and get it right, because there is no right. There is no right.
Right.
You know?
What is the biggest misconception that you think that you have seen over and over that actors have when they first come to you?
About me?
No.
I mean, because that would be a very long. That would be a very long conversation.
No. About the business, about how, you know, about the business of acting.
Yeah. That the theater-based technique crosses over when it comes to film and TV.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Okay.
What does that mean? What does that mean? Because I know that we were going to talk about the difference between being in an acting class versus acting on screen and TV and film. Mm-hmm. But now, so you're talking about people who come out of school and they've done a ton of theater and the transition. Is that what you mean? I'm
saying that there's 3 different art forms.
Tell me.
There's theater-based technique, which is what I learned, you know, Meisner, Adler, Stanislavski, the list goes on. And that's for theater. For film and TV, the more actors try and apply that, the more bogged down and the worse the material gets. And I've seen that over and over and over. The minute an actor is going tactics, objectives, obstacles, what's my beat? Where are my beats? What's my thought before, during, after? That doesn't exist. That's not real. This is real. That's what they want to see. And so that's the second. And then the third art form is the audition, which is an art form to me in and of itself. So I really feel passionately that if an actor wants to do theater or take a Meisner class, but they want to do film and TV, they should be studying film and TV techniques, not, to me, methodology that's outdated and hurts the actor. It hurts the actor. It would be as if the medical industry hadn't updated their methodology in 50 years or 40 years, you know, or 30 years. Things changed in 2007 when reality shows took over, when reality TV took over. Our audience changed drastically, and I'm very excited. I've been talking about this for 5 years, and Idris Elba just came out supporting this concept, which is people got used to seeing real people on TV.
Yes, amen.
Right. And so when they started scripting reality TV, now that's when that's when we started getting negotiations, was when they were like, oh, dang, we can't keep running this awesomeness of reality TV because we want to script it. We actually have to hire actors. But the appetite had changed. Everything after that was grounded, real, honest. And what I realized as a classically trained actor is I was a very fucking good actor. Carnegie made me a great actor. You know what also makes us great actors? Life, trauma, surviving. It was school. So we have all of that strength. But when I started coaching and removing the acting part of it, and I was showing up and being present, I realized I was doing the best work of my life.
Yeah.
I was getting off book after reading it through 2 or 3 times. Like, it was effortless. And so I started breaking down, well, what's that and how can I teach that? Because really what I'm doing is just getting rid of everything on the page and coming honestly and fearlessly as myself, and not trying to let the page dictate where I'm going, because it's more about the other person, which, as you know, as an actor, that's kind of what we want to do all the time. It's just not the reality.
Yeah. I mean, that is very Meisner-esque, you don't think?
It is, but you know, I've never repeated in a fucking audition.
Well, I'm not talking, I mean, repetition,
you know,
was such a small part of it. I just remember Sandy, you know, the minute he thought that you weren't being, he would just scream fake, you know, if he thought that there was something not genuine, because you weren't paying attention, you weren't listening, you know,
which is beautiful in a safe space, black box environment.
Mm-hmm.
When you're on set, you're going to hear that, but it's going to be, just say the words, which I think for an actor is really hard to hear, because then, you know, it's almost diminishing what we do. And it's like, well, it's not me. Yes. Just say the words as yourself.
Yeah. What I end up saying is, please give me a separate take for me. And I'm calling it the fuck it take.
Yeah.
And all the work you did, I want you to let it go. I want you to feel like you're not doing anything. Like, it's not enough. I want you to feel like, oh, that take is not enough. It's always the best take, because they just let it go.
Always. When we're watching someone do the steps, we're not seeing the dance.
Right.
And I've been interviewing a couple actors, one of whom is on 1883, and he told me that, you know, Billy Bob Thornton gives us great advice, which is, if you finish a take and you feel like you haven't done enough, you've still done too much.
Whoa. It's so true. I just got chills.
Aww.
I just got chills. It's so true.
Yes, it is.
So true. Okay, I'm just going to ask another question, but I love just like going off. So if there's something else you want to talk about, just be like, fuck you, and just start talking.
I'm in your hands.
Well, okay, so I've been hearing a lot. This is up for me right now, because I've been hearing this a lot from actors. There's actors that are very, I'm just going to say, angry or upset about the change in the industry since the pandemic, and with things going to more towards self-tapes. And there's an anger about it. And it's coming out in different ways. Some people are upset because they feel like they were better in the room. So they'll say, I used to book when I could go in the room, and now I'm not booking. So they're blaming the self-tape. And then the other thing I've heard is this, and it's all part of the same energy, right? So it's keeping you, this is the reason that's keeping you from moving forward. But also angry because they have to pay for a reader, or spending the extra money on getting their self-tape equipment and this kind of thing. So I just wonder how you have sort of transformed your coaching around self-taping.
So I've been online since 2008.
Way before.
Yeah. Because a lot of my clients, I was referral only. And so wherever my clients were, they would train. I mean, I remember coaching Jesse for Cabin in the Woods via Skype, you know?
Yeah.
And I think adaptability is the key to survival. And the minute we start looking at and complaining, it's like, but you chose this career.
Yeah.
Period. And as you said, it's an energy thing. Number one, we transferred, we closed our office March, I want to say 16th or 19th, physical office, 2020.
Yeah.
And my team and I got together and we transferred all the hundreds of classes I've created online, with the exception of 2, the exact same day, and we never stopped.
Wow.
We never stopped. I cut my prices, for sure. And they still aren't near where they were when I was in LA. But for me, I immediately knew that people were going to get cast online. And I had been coaching, you know, since I moved to Atlanta. A lot of my LA or New York or London clients, they're going to tape with me via Zoom, because it's what I can do in a coaching, and it's easy.
Right.
The setups themselves, you know, it's $100, you know, and it's a reality. We have actors who won't come to the studio because they're like, well, we want to do it when she's in person. I've made it my life work to honestly, ethically, and realistically train actors. So why would I go back in person if that's not how they're being cast?
Oh, that's such a good, because I have, you know, I'm old school, right? I mean, now I'm like a dinosaur. So I keep thinking in my head, well, actors training has to be in person, but it doesn't, right?
It doesn't. It doesn't. We have such, I am so, I'll use the word that I learned when I got here, which is I am so blessed. I am so blessed to have our community. And every night that I have class, I get to see beautiful, brilliant, phenomenal work. Every single night, Beth. Every single night. And the ensembles, and we're filming on my Thursday night class. We're filming. We're doing a web series on Zoom. You know, it's great. Not a web series, a Zoom series. I don't even know. But there's so much that's possible, but you have to work in this medium. Casting can't afford to go back in person. And let me talk to the actors who were saying I used to book when I would go in the room.
Yes, please.
Going into the room was going into a gladiator arena. And that is not my terminology. That's from Hugh Laurie when I tested with him at CBS. And it was down in the dungeon. And you have 25 network executives file past you and not acknowledge your existence, which means you are literally going in a mentality which is making you less than, and you have to be a gladiator. And when I didn't book it, that's what he said. We wrote each other, and he said, it was my honor to stand at your side in that blood-soaked arena. And
wow.
It's true. You could feel the blood of actors who would come before you. The energy of the room is horrific. And I would say, and that's the other thing, is like, actors were going in like open and here's who I am. And I'm like, no, if you don't come in on, like you're walking onto Jimmy Kimmel in the essence of who you're about to sell, you've already lost the job.
Oh,
but you go into to auditioning open, and you're going to get hurt because you're walking into judgment, or you're walking into someone who, you know, one of my favorite casting directors, when you walk in the room, when I walked in the room, she wouldn't look at you. It's hard to perform when you don't feel acknowledged or seen.
But what about the actors who have been around and they're friends with casting directors? So they would go in and they would feel like, oh, I'm being welcomed back, and here we are, and let's read, and how are you? And
Bialy Thomas, man, like I would fly. I am a retired actor. I don't.
Wendy O'Brien, same.
Wendy, oh my God, just like. But what I say to actors is you don't need every casting director to fall in love. You just need a handful of fans who are repeat customers.
Yeah.
You know, Bialy Thomas brought me in for 5-6 years before they were able to cast me. You know, and every time was such an awesome opportunity. And do I miss that? I mean, would I miss that? Yes. Yes, but there's still a way to keep in touch, and there's still a way to see them on Zoom. And Zoom doesn't take that away. Right. But to use that as an excuse for right now means that you're not stepping up and adapting. At the end of the day, that's what we have to do, because this is what we signed up for.
I talk about how when I started managing and agenting, it was all hard copy. And I only worked in the morning sending out my packages, and then I was just on the phone, right? The rest of the day. My messenger took it away. Now agents had to learn how to be on. Breakdowns are coming out every 5 minutes. You know, and we had to adapt or die.
Yes.
Adapt or die.
Yes.
And I just feel like people don't like change.
I love change. I'm a huge fan.
I am too. My entire life has changed now.
Yeah.
you know, and I love it. But okay, so let me get back, because I could talk to you about me and you.
I'm fine with you talking to me about it.
So let's talk about how to deal with actors who are auditioning quite a bit now, self-taping, and they're not booking. What do you say to actors when they're auditioning and not booking?
Sure. I enjoy giving a good Rocky speech. Pretty much give quite a few every week, and it's important. You know, it's important to feel that you have that person in your corner, because very few actors have 100% support. But I think that it's really important, energetically, and I'm not being woo-woo. I believe it and I know it works. I think it's one of the biggest hurdles that actors face, which is going into fear, doubt, and insecurity and lack of, or I'm not. I'm not booking. So let's compare it to dating, which I have been doing.
I always do that. You
always date, or you always compare it to dating?
I always compare this business to dating. I love it. Because
there can be, in Georgia, before I even got here, it was like, there's a lack of men. There's hardly any men, you know, and you start to feel that and go there. What does that do? It took me down. So I've been single for about a year now, and I've been spending that year focusing on, number one, love for myself and internal regulation. There's a lot of rejection in this industry.
Yeah.
And not every job hurts. Not every loss hurts. It's like it's always another audition. But I think when actors go into it with expectation, oh my God, this is my role.
Yeah.
There can be a delusion there, because that's totally out of your control.
Right.
But the more you focus on what's not happening, the more that will absolutely manifest in and of itself. And the more you get into a Zen state of mind, for me, it's like, no, there is abundance. No, that person will find me, that there are beautiful men out there. And sure, there's ones that have made me want to run. There's ones that made me want to shut down. There are ones that made me want to stop. There are ones who've made me want to give up. You know, it's so cruel and mean and tough and hard and, you know, crazy and all of that. But I kept believing, keep believing, and keep working the muscle. It's this quote actually behind me, which is The Tale of Two Wolves, which is all about the voice with which you feed. Which side of yourself are you going to give fuel to? The lack of, and the deprivation and the not, or the faith and belief that this is what you're meant to do and it will come. And you have to find joy and stability outside of the career. If you're looking for that audition to take you out of your current circumstances, to give you, look, nothing beats getting a call from you, hearing we've booked, or we have a callback. That gives us enough to keep going.
Yeah.
But if you're finding that you don't have that inspiration, find your Rocky coach. Find someone who can infuse you with a new energy, and infuse yourself with new energy. Or you know what? Take a break. Just take a break. Walk away for a minute. If an audition comes in, throw it down, but stop putting all of this, you know, white knuckling, gun to the head, sands of time, running through the hourglass. This is a career for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. Well, and it's a life for the rest of your life, and you don't know how long your life is. I mean, I recovered from stage 3C ovarian cancer, and that changed everything.
Wow.
Because you must live today for the joy of today, right?
Wow.
So to place your validation on something other is just looking in the wrong direction, you know? And I liken dating to finding an agent.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Because I say your person will get you. You're just, and if you just want an agent, then you're just going to take any agent. And I talked to an actor last night who was afraid to leave his agent. He was getting one audition a year for the last 4 years. And I'm like, well, this is your fault that you stayed.
You're staying in a bad relationship. Yeah.
I said, and he's like, well, I thought that having an agent was better than not having one. And I said, well, that's like sleeping next to someone who you're not having sex with for 4 years. I'm like, is that the relationship you want? Because
I can tell you it's not.
Because you're not having sex, and everybody knows
sucks.
It sucks. So,
and it makes you miserable.
Right, right. So
and it keeps you small, and it keeps you in doubt and fear and insecurity.
Yeah.
Take that security blanket away.
So this was something else we were going to talk about. We were going to talk about the relationship between actor and agent. I know your assistant had said that you had some good nuggets about that. So I'm curious.
Man. So throughout the duration of my career, I was with Pearl Wexler and the Paul Kohner Agency.
Nice. I know Pearl.
Yeah. So they signed me at 21, and I left them 3 times.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And at the height of my career in my 30s, and every time they asked me to come back, or when I called them and said, "Could I come back?" they said yes. That to me is a huge testament to the relationship that I grew and nurtured with them. I always made their job easier. Always. I was always, I never asked to reschedule. Unless it was like death.
God bless you.
I would say no to everything and make my audition the best, because that's what I was there to do. I would do my research. I would do my homework. I would show up prepared. Not only prepared, I would always bring something different, something unique to who I am as a human. My perspective on, if you're lucky enough to hire me for this role, here's how I will play this person.
Yeah.
Here's my energy in essence within the world of the research and the showrunner and the creator and the director and the network. But I would treat the assistants like gold. If I was working in a restaurant, I would comp as much as I possibly could. I wait until the manager left, and then I'd be like, "Come in, have cocktails," until they comp. I was working at Shutters on the Beach, I was working at Ilfrenial in Beverly Hills, and I always, would find ways to say thank you other than a gift at Christmas or Hanukkah. I would send fresh pressed juices at 4:00 at the end of February, because I know that those 4 weeks of pilot season probably had gotten to them. I always say thank you. Always. Those are 2 words that I think are so underserved, and yet that's how I was raised, so I always work to make them feel like I was going to be their best client. One time I remember I was really low and I just wanted to work so bad. And I didn't get angry. I never came across as entitled. It was never like, where are my auditions? I always believed and trusted that they signed me to do the best job for me that they could. Right?
Yeah.
And back then they were on Sunset Boulevard. My dad took me to my first interview.
Oh.
He waited for me at the Hamburger Hamlet. And throughout those first few years, I would stop in every few months just to drop off coffee or a rose or maybe some candles. I'd work an extra shift or bring some muffins in from the night before, and I would always look different. I'd be like, "Oh, I'm on my way to the gym." I wasn't. "Oh, I'm on my way to a date." I didn't have one. Just so they could see me in different kind of energies and essences. I always had my materials. I shot my headshots I would shoot, which I was never a fan of, but I shoot faithfully every year. I always, anything that aired or anything that I had, I would add to my reel immediately as best as I could. For casting directors like Sharon and Sherry, I would send a thank you note, just a card, a nice card, nothing with my face or anything like that. Just a nice, cool quote from Buddha with maybe some black and white photography or whatever. Just saying, I really appreciate how many times you've brought me in over the past few months. Just wanted to say that. I hear a lot of actors talking about networking. It wasn't my thing. I didn't think that. I'd been to a lot of parties. I knew a lot of people. I came up with some really cool, interesting directors and artists and stuff, but I never expected. I mean, my dad's, one of his best friends was Roland Perkins, who was one of the 5 who started CAA.
Wow.
I mean, I would go to CAA to meet and have lunch with Roland, and I never asked him for a favor. I only asked him if he would give me, advice. And I listened.
People love to help. People
love to help, but not when they feel you're doing it for an ulterior motive.
Right. And
so yeah.
Somebody just said, how can we translate what you did, right? Your
Yes.
gratefulness because now you can't just drop by your rep's
Correct.
office.
Correct.
So how do you do that? How would somebody do that?
I start by being a really good person. I start by, not worrying about my career so much, but knowing that I'm in charge. I'm the manager of my materials. That when I moved here and started working with Jason at AMT, I connected with him as a human first. And sometimes that's possible. And sometimes when you're just starting out, that is not appropriate for you to do. I think we have to recognize that the more you book, the more you can say, hey, let's meet for a cocktail, let's meet for drinks, or let me take you for a coffee. But I think number one, consistently being on top of your materials, making their job easier. If you do something that's cool, even if it's just like, not even, but if it's a short film, send 1 minute, send a little clip if it's different and it's something your agent can use to sell. Hey, just did this. When you have a sec, if you want to watch it, great, it's 1 minute. Keep your emails to your agents less than 2 sentences, 3 at the max. I say do not ever get them on the phone unless you are negotiating and talking about a deal.
Preach.
Right? And again, a thank you. If your agent has gotten you 50 auditions, 70 auditions, send a really cool card. Be classy. That's not kissing ass. That's saying thank you, or work an extra shift, or ask, your parents for a little money so that you can get new headshots. Really keeping on top of the materials, I think, is a big one, but also the thank you. If you want to send a little candle, but being conscious that they're not there to hold your hand. It's got to be a partnership, and you have to really step it up. You guys work so hard. You work so hard just to get that appointment. And if you're an actor who says, thanks, can I get this rescheduled? That's not going to gel. That's not going to work. And the better you are to your team, like, I'm more interested in who you are, how your family is, how your dating is going, how your recovery is going. I'm going to ask that first. And then if I have any career stuff, I'll keep that to 2 minutes max.
Yeah.
What I was going to say is, at one point I called my agent, and I wasn't angry or upset about lack of auditions. I hadn't auditioned in months. I just called her, and she knew, because when you get a call from a client who's been working and then stops.
We know if we're having sex or not.
We know if we're having sex. Everyone knows if we're having sex.
Everyone knows.
And I just said to her, it was Suzanne, and I said, look, I know it's really tough. I know you guys are doing your best. I'm just telling you, my heart hurts. I would do anything. I would do anything at this point. And that's when she went back through some breakdowns, and she found Judging Amy. And that was the one that kind of launched. That was the biggest job that I booked. It was one to 3 episodes, and I ended up doing 17 and staying on for almost 2 years, And it was just because I was a nice person,
Yeah.
And I treat the assistants like gold. And I know that your time is so valuable, and that you have so much already on your shoulders. I just want to be a part of the team because it's my company, and make sure that you have everything you need to sell me.
So let's switch it up just a second for actors who are brand new, because something happened during the pandemic where everyone quit their job or got let go of their jobs, and everybody had a lot of time at home. And so a lot of people were like, now I can explore this idea of being an actor, right?
Okay.
So I have a lot of people who just think, well, I'm just going to get an agent. I'm going to have my picture taken, and I'm going to get an agent. I'm like, wait.
Yeah, no.
So I know you were talking about, classes versus, training for on camera, but what would you say to someone who came to you and was just like, well, I'm just going to get an agent? Like, that's what you do. What do you say to those? Because there's a lot of them, Sara.
And I don't deal with them.
Like, if somebody comes to you with no training, you're like, you have to go learn how to act, right?
No.
What do you say?
Because I don't want them to go learn how to act. I absolutely don't.
But
what do you say? So genuinely, and I'm not trying to be an asshole here, it's just, I never worked with beginner actors. It has to come from an agent who signed someone. So once in a while I'll get someone, but they've done a certain thing. They're a musician, or they're a host, or they are transitioning from baseball or I mean, like, I will take someone, but they're at a certain level.
Right. So you won't work with them, but there's probably, there's 150 people in here right now, right? I'm going to say easily half of those people are brand new. Are brand new.
Okay. So number one, do your research. This is not an overnight success career. So first and foremost, I want you to ask yourself, are you prepared to do this and not succeed for 20 years? Are you prepared? Are you prepared to have money jobs? Because you're not going to take a picture, get an agent, and book. It's just not going to happen. Is that my screen?
Oh, you just left. You left me. She left. Okay, we'll wait for her to come back in. Oh my God, you guys, how good is this? She's fucking brilliant. Maybe I need to invite her again. I'm going to invite her again. Mornell. There we go. Invite.
This is hilarious. I'm so sorry. So I have my blinders on. I am so focused on you because if I start looking at comments or people, I'm going to want to talk to everyone and say, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
So I'm here. Okay. So number one, are you prepared to audition for 20 years without booking? And if you say yes, okay, the next thing you want to do, I think, is just deep dive research. What kind of actor do you want to be? Yeah. Do you know how many actors say they want to be on film and TV, but they don't watch film and TV? Or like, oh, I don't watch TV. Are you freaking kidding me? And that's a big one. Hey, everybody, watch TV. I mean, everything. Yeah. I mean, everything. Don't ever audition ever without watching what that showrunner, director, producer, whatever they've done before. It's one of those things that blows my mind. Talk to people first. Just say, hey, I'm interested in getting into acting and I know you're in it. Would you mind meeting me for coffee? But you have to take away instant gratification and the idea that it's going to happen overnight. It's not. Be very careful when it comes to classes. Try a few. Don't get locked in. There is something happening that I hear a lot about where studios are kind of like grabbing actors and keeping them, and really it's a cash cow. You know, there's a lot of money being made off the working class actor.
Tell people don't stay anywhere for very long. Two years max. Sandy used to kick people out after 2 years. He'd say, go learn from, because you have to emulate also. You're always going to be working with different directors as an actor.
Correct.
So why would you work with the same teacher? You have to be able to take, and everyone is going to see you differently.
Yes. I have a lot of people who come in and guest teach because of that. You know, Ethan Embry, his wife, Sunny Mabry, they come in and they work with actors. Are they using the Mornell method? No, but it's really important that actors get used to different types of directors. And I say as a coach, if the day I stop pushing you is the day you find someone else. You know, but I designed a program that's 2 to 3 years max, and that should be enough. And then if you want to do improv, or if you want to go and do, you know, Commedia dell'arte or some, you know, or Meisner, go do that. But figure out what kind of actor you want to be first and start doing research. When it comes to photos, that's one of your biggest investments. Please don't race to get pictures, please. Unless you're a baby, you know, or a child. And that's fine. But wait, research those photographers. I think as an artist, you know, we want that instant gratification. And this is not the career to choose if that is what you were like pursuing. And you have to ask for people's advice and opinions and not, and know that there's no magic pill.
Yeah.
None. This is hard work.
Yeah.
Hard work. I mean, when I started coaching, you know, it was referral only. When I started teaching and doing this weekend intensive teaching actors how to audition, I would have one person sign up. You know, I worked 7 days a week to get what I do out there. And I believe in it passionately, but I think actors need to approach this a lot more like an athlete or a dancer, where it's about your work ethic. And you know that you have to put in 18 hours to make one step look effortless. And I'm not saying that like for auditioning again, my actors never need more than 1 to 2 hours to prep, period, because of the method that I teach and I coach. And it's different. It's not how I learned. So one, personalize it. What kind of actor do you want to be? Where do you want to be? If you have an interest in theater, go do some theater, man. Go do it. Have that experience. Try different classes and don't get sold. You know, there's a lot of talk about Kool-Aid, but that is a part of it. I mean, several years ago, I made a huge transition shift for us because I was like, this cult-like mentality of acting communities. How do I combat that? How do I personally remove myself from the mud that I'm getting thrown? And I thought, well, the way to beat cult-like mentality is to focus fully on community. Community, community, community. And it's not, I didn't have that when I went to LA. It was really lonely and really hard, and classes were brutal. Howard Fine, I was miserable. I lasted 4 weeks because I was like, after class 1, I was like, oh, I'm done. And you know who my partner was? Who was it? Oh my God, I'm forgetting his name now. But I remember Howard was like, who's that? It's James. Oh God, he's an X-Men. He's so huge now. It's hilarious. And I taught him Shakespeare and we auditioned together along that. Let me get out of that story. But I think, you know, really, really, really making sure that what you're signing up for is not a scam, that this is not a place that's going to give you crutches and cripple you or teach you outdated methods. That the whole reason I started the weekend intensive was it was breaking my heart. Someone would be in a class for 7 years in LA, get an agent, get signed, go in and do that audition and get horrible feedback. And that agent would say, you need to see Sara. They would come to me, and within 10 minutes, I'm watching their heart break. And I'm like, it's just a different art form than what you've been doing in class with scene study.
Yeah.
You know, so I think you have to look at your training based off of really what it is and where you want to go as an actor, but take delusion out of the equation. It's 20 years before you really start seeing success.
Right. You're working even before you start working with you.
Yes.
You have to do your research, and part of that research is learning the craft of your art, right?
Learning the craft and learning the business.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I also feel like as you are researching and learning the craft and who you are in the craft, what you have to bring, that's why you don't want to take pictures, because you are going to change. Right. Your whole perception of who you are will change, and it shows in your eyes. Yeah. So people come out and they take pictures with 5 different color shirts.
It does nothing.
It does nothing. It's like, and there's nothing there, you know? So these people, I love what you said. If you're here for instant gratification, get out. It's not the job for you. Yeah.
No, I mean, a lot of times I think it just comes down to who's the last man standing, who's taken 1,000 blows, but looks like you've never been touched. Right. What we're talking about is accomplishing almost the impossible.
Right.
But it's totally possible.
I mean, I don't know what the percentage is now, but back when I was acting, only 3% of us even made our health insurance. Yeah. 3% of SAG. And maybe it's 10% now. So you have to realize.
No, I don't think so, because of the way they jacked up the price now.
They jacked up the price, so it's probably still like somewhere between 3 and 5%. And I just feel like if you're doing this to become famous, even people who are working a lot, if it's the end goal is the only thing that's going to make you happy in your life, that's when you need to step back and take a break, because you have to fill yourself first.
Yes. Yeah, you really do. And if you're here, you know, if you're like, I actually don't really like acting, I just want to be famous, but I'm saying I want to be an actor, then go do a reality show.
Yeah. There's a place for you. It's called reality.
Yeah. And that's fine. That's great. You know what I mean? It'll get you the followers. It'll get you the fans. I mean, fame is so overrated and awful. But if you're really serious about it, spend, I don't know, at least 3 to 6 months doing hardcore research before you're even thinking about really, really diving in.
Can you just give us like a brief overview of what you mean when you say the Mornell method? Can you give us a brief overview of what that is?
Sure. It's a combination of myself as a working actor. It's basically melding what I started working with a baseball player. Not just any baseball player, but Barry Zito, who had won the World Series as a pitcher for the San Francisco Giants. And randomly, his wife used to work with me. And in his last year of his career, he was at a crisis. He was in a crisis. He worked with coaches and managers and agents and sports psychiatrists and psychologists, but it wasn't working. Something wasn't working. So his wife contacted me and said, hey, everything that I tell him that you've told me about the audition, and this is someone who was in a room with Harvey Weinstein, by the way.
Wow.
And I was there for it. She said, everything that you've told me about auditioning, he seems to respond to. Would you talk to him? I was like, yeah, of course. Is he going to be an actor? And she's like, no, I want you to talk to him about his game. I'm like, but I don't know anything about baseball. But I learned a lot about baseball because Barry ended up working with me. He chose to work with me. And he's like, it was his creative soul was withering.
Wow.
And so I started doing a lot of work on developing a process for him that became the foundation of the Mornell method, which is developing your true authentic voice outside of the others. Mm-hmm. Now, the other voices are very powerful and can be used, but it's really first and foremost getting rid of what you've been trained, told, taught, dictated, and finding who you are in your center and why you're doing this. Barry had to discover why he was playing the game again. Yeah. So I was creating exercises, and what I started doing was melding an artistic soul with an athletic frame of mind, because what I realized is our artists, our actors, were being kept from the athletic frame of mind. And when I went into that gladiator arena, it's on. It's not a fun frou-frou like black box safe space. It is a gladiator arena. And so I took that, and then I took basically the training I had and updated it. I wanted classes that really helped actors immediately know how to audition or how to act on set. There were tools that I never received. And so I started really honing in on voice work and on creating exercises, because that's what I do, that are really based around the modern day actor. But it starts with, I'm an acting coach who teaches people how to stop acting. And I do that with actors, and I do that with athletes, and I do that with personalities, and I do that with some of my clients who are hosts at Apple. You know, it's all about finding who you are outside of this.
And what do you think this is? Why are people putting something on? Is that just not enoughness? They don't feel enough? Why is there this presentational thing that happens?
I mean, that's how I was taught. That is a big part of theater training. You know, you go and watch theater, and it can be very presentational. And I think that a big part of it is worth and enough, and enoughness, as you said. You know, we're not raised to believe that we are spectacular, perfect, incredible, extraordinary, unique, talented, charismatic beings. Like we're diminished, we're beaten down, you know, and life will do that. And so we start pretending. I started acting from a very young age just to protect myself. And then school made me a better actor. But as I said, when I started coaching and really developing this process and walking the talk myself, which is what I try and do daily, and it's a work in progress. But I think the idea that we are not enough, but then there's also this training that beats actors down. And I was beaten down, but I was never built back up, and I was sent to Hollywood. That did not set me up as well.
No, because then the business beats you down too.
Exactly. The rejection beats you down. So, and then there's this self-deprecating thing, because you go into classes and you're told you need to show that you're nice and easy to work with. And that's so far from the truth.
So we only have 10 more minutes, and I want to make sure that you have some time to really talk to the actors and give them like something to, you know, make them feel inspired. But what's the one note you feel like you give the most to people in their self-tapes or in your coaching?
Stop trying to get it right.
Stop trying to get it right. Yeah, you said that before.
Unless it's Aaron Sorkin, Stop trying to be word for word.
Wow. Okay.
The lines are going to change anyway. And the second you start memorizing it, you're getting it in a formula. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if you miss 5, you're short circuiting.
Right.
So when you first learn material, get the page out of your hands. Get the page out of your hands. If you say, I don't have anyone to rehearse with, you're not trying hard enough to find a partner. Barter. Barter. If you have the funds and you can Postmate someone some dinner and say, can you work material with me? That is an opportunity for that actor to have free class.
Yeah.
Practice. Make being who you are, true to who you are in the moment, a practice every single day. And when you pick up the material and it says strong, tough, badass, please don't try and be a strong, tough, badass. You haven't discovered him or her or they or them yet. You haven't discovered it. You haven't discovered it. So stop going for the result and get into the process of discovering who you are in this material. Actors get auditions and they immediately start memorizing and trying to get it right and be a breakdown. And that's the biggest left turn. It's like, that's the easy part. Learn the material first, how you want to remember it. You don't have to have it word for word. It's okay to add a word or two. Don't add more than 5. Don't change the meaning of a line. Be smart about it. But the minute you're trying to lock it in and get word for word, you're memorizing. And what I found as a coach is there's a big difference between memorizing and learning material. Ooh. And the minute you have the script in your hands and you're trying to get it word for word, you're memorizing, and that's trapping you in the result. And it's not allowing for you to play in the process and be in the playground. So get the material out of your hands, take a walk, take a hike, multitask. Do not sit and run lines. Don't. Unless you're a series regular, and then we've got people for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think moving, hiking, walking, talking, folding laundry, doing dishes, rehearse that scene as close to how it would be shot as humanly possible without worrying about sound or music or lighting or any of that. If it's in the car and you're driving, get in the car and rehearse driving. Muscle memory only can happen when you have something to remember it. So get in the playground and play. Try things. Try it totally opposite to how it's written.
I love it.
Because ultimately the words are going to do the work.
Yeah.
The words are going to do the work. Study and analyze actors that you love and admire. I love a little exercise called voice match. You know, if you just repeat back what that actor is saying at the same level, it's like singing along to a song. You get that lyric musicality rhythm in your body much quicker.
Wow. I never even thought about that.
Well, I would break down Marvel, you know, what level do actors really need to go in with Marvel? And I noticed that, like, you know, you're seeing someone in a shot talking to thousands of people and they're going, and we will survive. You know, and you're like, holy, they're like mic'd up. But like, that's the level, and actors are going in and they're making their auditions theatrical. And they need to be cinematic. They need to be cinematic. They need to be as close to how it would be shot as possible. And sometimes that means really tweaking the audition to work for the audition. It might mean taking a line out because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So if you see someone that's crossing camera, but the network executive who's hiring you doesn't see that person, they're confused.
Wow. So you're really, you know, inviting the actor to take control of it almost. And I say this when someone's going in to test.
Yeah.
You're going in to collaborate with this director that you're working with. You're already on set. At that point, to me, it's your job, right? That day, you get to act that day, and you get to go collaborate and make art with these humans who fucking love you enough to bring you into this room, right?
Yes. However,
yes, you got to be glad.
I've seen directors derail because they've come in at the last minute, or they have an idea. And I've almost been derailed by a director, Alex Kurtzman. It was his first film, and he just wanted to play with it. But the way in which he was playing with it, the audition, Denise Chaman was doing your face. The more I played, the more I took his direction. She was like, oh my God. She had read 300 actresses for this role. Couldn't find someone. And so when I saw that expression, I just flipped back and trusted myself. I went back immediately to what I was doing. So when you go into these testing situations going on. Yes, you're there to collaborate, but collaborate in the energy and version of who you see as this role and what's gotten you the call back.
Right. Why you're
Right?
there. I always
Why
say
you're
don't
there.
change anything.
Yeah.
You're there because of the work you've done.
Yeah.
They want you.
Correct.
So we're getting close to the end, and I just want to give you the last word. Is there anything you want to say? We have 160 people here.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Just to maybe something to help inspire them for their career, or whatever nuggets you can give us at the end.
Sure. Let me try. First and foremost, thank you and appreciate you. Because you're an advocate for actors, and that's huge.
Thank you.
And that's really huge. For you guys who are here, thank you so much for being here. I do want to lead with inspiration and the fact that I get to see miracles every day. Last night, an actor, I cried because he had I always check in, and he said, well, I'm in love. And he'd done a video for a commercial, and the feedback on set was and this is someone who I've seen work. Like, I've kept him in the program, and I'll kick people out, but we've kept him, and he has worked and trusted us and trusted himself and trusted the Mornell method. And it's that feeling of, I made a difference in someone's life, and I get to see that every single day. Miracles happen every single day, and dreams come true every single day. But I want you guys to remember that this is a career for the rest of your lives. It doesn't have to be today or tomorrow. And if you're not happy, I want you to stop and press pause and find things that bring you joy. Find things in your life that make you feel balanced and fulfilled and happy, and try not to spend a ton of time on social media. I have noticed, as I've been more vocal about my mental health, the social media deregulates me big time.
Wow.
Big time. And learning how to self-regulate with type 2 bipolar is something that I've been very passionate about discovering. So I've noticed that the more I start to get outside of myself and compare or look on social media, the worse I start feeling about myself. And the best thing that you can do for yourselves is find self-love and confidence for who you are, and don't let anybody ever talk you out of what is truly your gift, which is your personality, your life, your experience, everything you've lived through. That's what makes you different. Don't be afraid to be different. Matter of fact, run towards it. That's what's going to book. That's what's going to define you. That's what's going to separate you. Not going and getting headshots that are in the standard sort of, here's the commercial. No, who are you? How do you want to show up in these shots? How do you see yourself on a show or in a movie that's realistic? If you haven't booked a co-star, start studying and analyzing co-stars, and write. Marissa in our office will say, write a list of 15 shows right now that you could easily book in that, not delusion. You know, if you don't look CW, and that is the Instagram of acting, if you don't look a certain way, that's not going to be your jam.
Yeah.
But how can you tweak? How can you play? How can you find versions of yourselves, but stay anchored in who you are as a human? Authenticity, authentically, because that, at the end of the day, that is what's going to separate you from everyone else. Trying to fit in, trying to be something that you're not, is never going to work. Never.
I love it. Be you. I say it all the time. Just be you. Be unique. Yeah. Be uniquely you, and find your joy. Sarah?
Yes. I also, Beth, I do want to say, auditioning is brutal.
It is
okay,
brutal.
Guys? Auditioning, I'm challenged every day. Every day I get a different challenge where I'm like, oh, this is what they're freaking sending? This is what we're doing now? Are you serious? Really? So whether it's 17 pages or 2 pages or 1 line, or you're fighting a monster, or you're having to die, auditioning is an art form in and of itself, and it's brutal and it's hard and it's challenging, but it's an art form, and it can be fun. And stay out of the result. Start really stretching it and feeling it out. Find fun and joy. versus putting pressure on getting to a result and getting it right. I think it'll change, like, really the trajectory of your career when you start putting that energy towards it.
And I feel like it's also respecting it as a craft instead of that instant gratification that we spoke about.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're in it for the long haul, not you're not just an actor so that you can be on NCIS. Like you're an actor because you're an actor and you're an artist.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Sarah, I just need to say, I don't know where you've been all my life. I think you're fucking brilliant. When you fell off, I was like, guys, she's fucking brilliant. I'm just beyond. I feel like I could like ask you a million bazillion more questions, but I'm just so grateful that you came. And you know, yeah, I don't even know what to say. I just think you're amazing, and I'm so happy that I found you.
I'm so glad to do this. I think the world of you, and I think we actually just need to plan for some like Zoom cocktails and
I would love it.
or coffee, and let's just have a girl date because that's needed.
Oh yeah, and I have a good story about how I met my man because I was right where you are. So we have some fun stories.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Stay safe and take good care of yourselves. All right.
Bye.
Bye.